So you also make music. I didn't know about this. Tell me about
Yeah,
it.
I do. Well, it kind of started um off as just a way for me to blow off steam. I mean, I come from a very musical family, and so I never really got into playing instruments or making music for a long, long time. The one thing I did was I was a singer, which is an instrument in and of itself. Um, but I didn't really start trying to make music or like play an instrument until college. And during college is when I was going through some stuff and I found music and it really just opened up a whole new world for me. Um, and so yeah, I started making music and haven't stopped since.
Wow. That's interesting, man. Because we never touched on this topic when we met, but I also have made music. My friend
Oh,
and
I didn't
I,
know that.
we released an album,
Oh,
and
wow.
so we labored on that thing for over a year. We really poured in a lot of our souls, and yeah, so it's it can be a very exciting process. So it's interesting that you also have partaken in that. And what does it do for you?
For me, it kind of is like because I'm so geared towards like, oh, how can I be useful right now? What can if I'm taking a break, and it used to be way worse, and I think I've picked up some old habits that like have yet to die. And even when I'm taking a break or doing something for fun, I'm like, how can I make this useful for me? And I don't know if it's mental gymnastics that I've done where I'm like, oh, but well, this could be, going towards my future. Like, I'm a writer as well, and I'm planning on writing or making a show that I've been writing since high school. And so every time I watch a show, I'm like, oh, this is, I'm gonna analyze this. I'm gonna not just watch it. I'm gonna have this be towards my future. And so when I make music, it's something similar where, I want to be the musician that makes the music for these shows and these movies that I'm gonna make. But the nature of making music, nature of making art really, is it forces you to, or at least for me, this is true for me. It forced me to like chill out a little bit and to be like, okay, yes, in order to make this useful, I have to just let myself be free from this like almost this box that I put wound up putting myself in. And so what it really does is it just opens me up and it makes me feel more free to just do things without this nagging like, oh, you got to make it useful. You got to make it, you can't just waste time because a lot of music sometimes is just wasting time and seeing what works.
That is true. And what's really interesting is when my friend and I first started becoming a band and doing our thing, when first few moments where we realized, oh my God, the lyrics and the strings are working together nicely, we would get so excited. And then we'd, have a bunch of different takes and figure out which ones worked and which ones didn't. It's a process. But I remember like when I was in the process of writing songs, I'd get so excited through the whole journey. And then when I was done and I sang it for myself the way I wanted it to, it felt like it felt kind of depressing. Like I felt kind of sad, or I'm not sure how to explain it, but it kind of felt like this depressing vibe that washes over you. And the craziest thing is, maybe a couple weeks or a couple months after that, after having those experiences, I came across this clip of Fiona Apple, and she said something very similar. She's like, there's times where I'll be working on a song and I'm so excited, and then I play it for my mom and it's awesome. And then when I'm done, like I just feel really depressed and sad about that. I was like, oh my
Huh.
God, I can't believe that she had like that same experience. And I don't know how to explain it, but it's like, it's so fun, beautiful, and amazing to be a part of that journey. And then when it ends or when it's complete, it's like, oh, that's
It's
about
kind of
it.
like I don't really get that, but it sounds like the same kind of feeling that you get after you watch a show that's really, really good and you've been watching it for a while and then it's over and you're like, What do I do now?" There's nothing to like fill that, you know, same space.
Yeah,
Because I don't really. I don't feel like I get that because whenever I'm done with one song, I just go to the next one. That's part of my
that's how it
process.
is.
Yeah, part of my process is I work on several different songs at once because if I work on one song for too long, I'll get bored and then I'll stop being able to like hear the because I'm very much an intuitive musician. I don't know anything about music theory, but so like I hear everything that I write down, and once it gets to the point, it's like saying a word over and over and over again, and then it starts sounding weird. That same similar thing happens to me with music when I'm making something. And so I bounce between all these different songs to just make sure I constantly am, not over inundating myself with the same thing.
The example you brought up with that TV show ending and then, not knowing how to feel after that, I think that that's a fair analogy. It's like you satisfy a hunger, but that feeling is easily depleted because hunger comes
Hmm.
back. And it's like
Yeah.
you have to jump to the next one, the next meal, if you're lucky enough.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's interesting, man. I'm gonna have to check out some of your stuff. I didn't know this, so this is a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, you can. I mean, I've never released an album, but I've released a lot of singles just under my name, Jibran Syed. Uh, I released through DistroKid, so it should be anywhere you can get music. It'll be there. I don't know if you can find it because I'm obviously no Bruno Mars with how popular I am. It's it's obviously like, oh, I got like a few views, yay, or a few plays, but no, yeah. And I'm one of those musicians that makes a bunch of different types of music. Like some musicians can only do one type of music, and I don't get that at all. I mean I get it, but I'm one of those people that just I love music in any like I do have a favorite genre, but I don't dislike any genre specifically because I've heard good music come out of all genres. Like country, rap, jazz, blues, like, and there's always a song there that I like that I would listen to on a regular basis. And to me, there's a difference between like a song that's good, because there are lots of good songs that I just it don't appeal to me. But I've always found that there's also songs that are good that do appeal to me in all genres. And I don't know exactly what it is that makes it appeal to me or not appeal to me, but like yeah, so I love making music in all forms and you can see that with my discography right now where I haven't released much of the new stuff I'm working on, but I've my main like I think forte is orchestral music, like these big compositions that are very complicated and meticulous. But lately I've been getting into rap actually, making rap music, which is a hard thing to do well. It's a hard thing to make it not so cringy, which I have one song released right now that is rap that I listen back to it I'm like, "Oh dear." Because it's not terrible, but it's just so lackluster compared to what I've been doing lately and like it's not something I saw myself doing ever, but It's fun, man. It's like poetry in motion or poetry to a beat. It's a lot of fun.
Interesting you say that because I did not come up in a musical family. In fact, I had very little interest in music at all, just because it wasn't my personality. What drew me in was me recognizing, oh my God, these are poets speaking. That's what this is. This isn't just nonsense, even though there are pop stars out there that are just spewing nonsense. But it's like some of them, like I remember the first time I noticed it, it was with Lana Del Rey. I was like, oh my God, this is a poet speaking. And then it really hit me with Jim Morrison. I was like, that guy. I detected the writer in him before I did the musician. And then, little by little, I was like, oh my God, this is poetry. And that is what pulled me into the whole music thing. But
Interesting.
yeah, it yeah.
That's so interesting because I've always been music like I came up in a musical family. I never played music, but music has always been a huge part of my life. It's gotten me through hard times even before I made music. Like just listening to music did a lot for me. And so that's what obviously drew me in whenever I started making it. I suddenly was able to, get that feel good chemical in the brain on command, if that makes sense. Like make something that was just so cool that like I couldn't stop making it. And then through that, I found a way to bring the message that I wanted to convey. Because I was an artist before I made music. Like I drew and I wrote. I'm a writer. That's like my two biggest things. And so I had a good, strong sense of my artistic identity before I started making music, which is unique, I think. And so then I was able to finally like bring out certain things of that identity that I really wanted to, talk about in a way that was, I don't know, presentable to other people. Because like writing is fun, but like even a book, you can give it to someone. Who knows if they're gonna read it? And even if they do, who knows if they're gonna read all of it? And it's also just like when you have ideas and not something concrete yet, it's much harder to, I don't know, show someone that and have them be in any way impressed or interested. But when you have like a song, it's something more, so much more visceral, so much more like, I don't know, biologically, like there's something biological about it that's just like, oh, you'll latch onto it and be more willing to listen to it or be interested in it. Um,
That's,
so
that's that's
yeah.
a fascinating point you bring up because in my experience thus far, it's been the inverse. I'm also a writer and I've written books, and the books, alhamdulillah, thankfully, they've done pretty well. Like people have shown an interest. In fact, I remember this past Ramadan, I was just sitting at a bench and I was writing in one of my notebooks, and this older uncle, he comes over and he sits with me and he starts talking and he's like, "So like, what are you writing?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm just writing some stuff." He's like, "Are you a writer?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "You written a book?" I'm like, "Yeah." Or actually, my friends tells him that I've written a book. And so that uncle, he buys my book, he reads it, and just the other day he was like, "I finished reading your book, man." I was like, "Whoa, that's really cool to me." Now the reason I say it's an inverse relationship is because when my friend and I dropped the album, it was crickets chirping, man. The reception was like almost nothing. Like I don't know what anybody thought, good or bad.
Mm.
I would have wanted something, compliments or criticisms, but it was nothing. It was like people pretending like it didn't exist, and that bothered me for some time. But I've gotten over that. But what you said right now is interesting to me because my experience has shown me the inverse. People cared
Well,
less about the music.
yeah, I mean, I would to that I'd say like I mean more so when I'm going to show people the stuff I've made. Because one thing is I've never written a book. I've written screenplays. And the reason I haven't written a book is simply because I'm not a reader. I don't like reading, which is I know my English teacher one time was like, "Oh, that's such a shame because you're so smart, but you don't like reading." And I'm like, "I don't know, man. I like watching things so much more." And so to write a book, I have a feeling that would be exceptionally boring for me. Maybe not boring because I'd be writing it, but like it's harder for me to get into a medium that I myself am not a fan of. I think that's why music came so easily to me and why writing comes so easily to me. Film writing, I guess, or screenplay writing, because I love those things. I love, watching things and analyzing them, and I love listening to music. And so I think and the reason I bring that up is because I was gonna say I've never written a book, and I wonder if I did, if it would get more attention, naturally, but I'm not sure. Uh, I would say again, did you go and like show people your music, or did you just let it be?
Like that Beatles reference there.
Yeah,
I don't know if it was
yeah,
intentional or not, but
it was.
I just posted it, on
Mm,
social media once. I shared a couple of songs, and I to this day I don't understand like what was it, because I can understand that. I get that people have different tastes, right? But releasing an album is a feat of its own. So, like, despite genre, the crickets chirping just doesn't make sense to me. Because you would think there'd be some sort of interest, but it's like, I don't know what happened. To this day, it's a mystery to me. But like I said earlier, I've kind of moved on. It's in the past, it's in the rear view.
yeah, I think it's just, that's how it goes whenever you're making anything really. It's surprising to me that that surprises you. That tells me that in your other endeavors you've had a lot more of a audience, which is not an experience that I have had. I definitely, really struggle to get people to listen to my stuff on but also it's been the case that I haven't really tried to market it, and that's what I would say to you is probably the reason why it didn't work out is because it's not being marketed properly. And that's not to say it's your fault or anything. It's very hard to do marketing. I only know this because I work in marketing now. Hooray! Uh, and it sucks, but it's taught me a lot about like, okay, whenever I get to the point where I actually really want to pursue these things for real, because like right now it's just me doing, music, having fun, building up my skills. And once I start, doing all this stuff, like executing on all these plans I'm making, then I'm gonna use all that marketing experience to really go full ham and get people to actually listen to things.
Yeah. If I've had a realization in the past year, and I've had many realizations, but the one that hits me a lot is marketing is like a metaphorical Rome. All roads lead to it because
Mm.
that's life. Marketing is life. And we all have to figure out how to be better advertisers because that's life.
Yeah, I mean, or even more so, like marketing is like the road itself that leads
Mm,
to Rome because it's like everything has to go on the road, right? So everything has to be marketed if you want it to succeed. I guess in this analogy, Rome is like success.
that's a good way to put it, man. Yeah. And I wanted to shift gears a little and ask you, who is your favorite Batman villain?
Oh, oh man, that's a great one. Um, it's interesting because every most people would say like, oh, the Joker is obviously one of my favorites, but that's such a cliche answer. Um, Honestly, one of my favorites is one that I hadn't even thought of for a long time until just recently, like today, when I saw one of the YouTube videos talking about him, and I'm like, oh my God, I forgot about that villain, Victor Zsasz. He's just like a different from the Joker, because the Joker is like a psychopath with a mission. Victor Zsasz is just like a psychopath. I think anyways. He just like kind of does things. He might have a mission. I actually don't know much about him. That's not my answer, but that's just one of the villains that I do really enjoy. One of my favorite villains is probably the either the Riddler or Mr. Freeze. The Riddler because he's like, he's kind of the perfect Batman villain because he's the only one that could go toe to toe with Batman intellectually. And then but Mr. Freeze is also one of my favorites because he's like this tragic guy. At least the way he was done in the which show was it? One of the Batman shows. He's like this tragic figure that is just trying to save his wife. That or Deathstroke because Deathstroke's cool, but that's less of a. I love them all, man. I think I named like four different villains just now.
Yeah. Hey, I don't blame you. They're all very interesting characters, and I like how you mentioned Mr. Freeze because that story is the whole crux of his story is just a very fascinating one. I was thinking about this question myself today, and I think it might be Talia al Ghul, the Dame that kills.
Mm.
I don't know why, but there's something like attractive about that. The Dame that kills instead of a damsel in distress.
Oh yeah, is that what you like in a girl?
Yeah, no, so that's just something I was thinking about. And again, I don't blame you because there's so many good ones. There's
Yeah.
so many good ones.
Even Ra's al Ghul or Ra's al Ghul is he's interesting because of how long he's lived and also along those lines, oh, what's his name? Savage, Vandal Savage. I don't know if he's
Oh
a
yeah.
Batman villain, but he was in the Justice League
That
show.
guy is crazy. I feel
Dude,
like a lot
Vandal
of people
Savage.
forget about him.
Yeah. Yeah, he's not a super popular character. Like I don't see much about him, but
Yeah.
that guy is awesome. I especially love the episode of Justice League where Superman gets sent into the future and everything is destroyed and Vandal Savage is the only person left. And he's like, you have to save the world from what I did to it because I hate this. I'm so lonely.
I gotta watch that episode. I can't
Yeah,
remember that one.
it's a good one. And like Superman's all like, you are literally the worst villain I've ever met. And he's like, yes, I know. That's why we're in this position. You have to stop me.
Yeah, he's a very interesting character. And do you remember his storyline? Because from what I'm recalling, he was pretty much every villain in history. Like he
Oh,
was
is that
Genghis
true?
Khan, he was Julius Caesar. Like if I'm not mistaken, that's his story where he was actually all those warlords and stuff.
Interesting. I didn't know that. I just know he was a caveman at one point and this was from the Justice League show again. And a meteor fell and it was like a magic meteor or something and he fell asleep next to it and he never died after that.
Back in 2015 and before, DC was it. Actually, I would say even 2016 and before, DC was it. I mean, they were killing it with everything: video games, movies, cartoons. And then the shift happened in 2016, as far as I remember, when Spider Man was brought back into Captain America Civil War. And then, like, Marvel just went up, 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 and up, and DC just kept going down. What do
I'm
you
not
think?
sh Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm not gonna lie. I'm not sure if DC ever really had a. No, that's not true. I was gonna say I'm not sure if DC ever had a hand up on Marvel, but there DC did have movies that knocked it out of the park. Obviously, like The Dark Knight, Batman Begins, all those movies. But like ever since the first Avengers, like Marvel was the shit, you know? Like the
Mm,
first Avengers and then everything else all the way up till Endgame, like
interesting.
they had it on lock. They were the mainstream and they have slowly petered out. And now I think, especially since James Gunn moved to DC, DC's about to take that title. Like,
I thought you were
especially,
gonna
I don't
say you're
know,
about to take the kitten. I was like, what?
I don't know about the kitten. I think the kitten is safe for now. But I don't know if you saw the new Superman, but I thoroughly enjoyed the new Superman.
I haven't seen it yet. I saw like a little
Oh
bit, not
man.
the whole thing.
Dude, you need to watch it. It nails Superman because that's one thing Zack Snyder. I have beef with Zack Snyder because he's like he did 300. He's obviously a good director, but he sucks at making superhero movies because he doesn't understand superheroes. I remember I got this information like third hand or something, so I don't know if I haven't fact checked this, but I've heard that he was in an interview and said something like, "Yeah, I don't understand like I think he said something like Superman isn't a real like he's not a human character because he doesn't make any sense, something like that." And I was like, he that's so opposite of what Superman is. He's the most human character. And so, yeah, I have beef with Zack Snyder. You hearing me, Zack Snyder? I know you're listening. Zack Snyder. I don't know why I keep repeating his name, but
I love mythologies, and I think what Zack Snyder does with his universe that he built was he mythified a lot of the superheroes. He made them. He focused a lot on that element of like gods on Earth kind of a thing. At least from what I could see, that's
mm,
how that whole universe was sort of painted. Which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing, but I just think that that whole DC universe thing was it was like DC is supposed to be dark, but that universe was kind of like gloomy dark. It wasn't
yeah,
cool, you know?
there wasn't any light in it. That's
Yeah, I
the
mean the
thing is like,
closest you got was the Aquaman movie, which I had fun watching. I had a lot of fun watching the Shazam movies. Like they were good entertainment, you know, they were kind of fun to watch, but other than that, it was like eh. Even that last Flash movie, for as insane as it was fun to watch. I'll give them that. Their
oh,
last two movies were fun to watch.
yeah, Flash was alright. I hated the VFX in it though. Like, and this is not an unpopular opinion. Most people were like, "What is going on with this?" I liked Shazam. I liked I like I actually liked Black Adam a lot. I know a lot of people hated it, which I don't get. I liked it. I think
That
it was
was such a dark film.
yeah, I was like I think it was a good movie. It was fun. Shazam was fun.
Yeah,
I
Zachary Levi was a great Shazam.
yeah, I think so
Amazing.
too.
Amazing.
He was a great choice. Like he gets the whole like whimsy of a kid, but like
Yeah,
a responsible kid, you know? Like he nailed it.
he really did. He really did. It is a sad thing that he's out of that whole. I don't know. Maybe he'll be back. Maybe he'll be back.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do with Shazam. All I know is I desperately want to see a Shazam Superman like buddy cop movie where like Superman is Shazam's mentor. 'Cause like I don't know if you've seen there's this comic where Shazam like he reveals his identity to Superman and like this was before Superman knew he was a child and he was like berating Shazam for doing something childish. And then he was like, oh shit, you're a kid. And so yeah, and it's so good. That comic is so good. And like
Yeah, have you seen the Blue Beetle movie?
yeah, I did see it.
That was also just a fun thing to watch, you know?
Yeah, I agree. That was a fun movie.
Yeah, I really do like those superhero movies that don't take themselves so seriously, where they're just fun to watch. Like you might not
Yeah,
ever care about them again, but they were just fun to watch.
I agree, but I also like the superhero movies that do the work to make it so that you take them seriously as well. Like the Batman, the one with oh what was his
Robert
name?
Pattinson?
Twilight. Yeah.
I still haven't seen that one actually.
Oh my God, it's so good. That one is really good. That one really leans into the whole detective thing and how Batman, like Bruce Wayne is the mask and Batman is the actual person
Mm.
underneath. I love that. I It was a great movie. I'm really excited for them to make a new one.
I loved the Joker. I don't know where it fits in any of the DC films, but I love that one. It's like its own universe.
Yeah, I don't know if it's a part of any universe. I'm pretty sure they said something about that, but I don't remember what it was. I saw the Joker. I did not see the second one,
Neither
and
have I.
I heard the second one was like a trash fire, which is such a shame because the first one was amazing.
Yeah, I've heard that as well. I've yet to see that one, but first one, you're right. It was Joaquin Phoenix, man. The way he can act, it's
Yeah.
true art. It's true art.
No, yeah, for real. And I saw a different movie with him that it was a movie. It was I call it the a great work of art, but I'm never gonna see it again. It was Her. Have you seen that?
I did when I was younger. I really enjoyed that film for
When you were
how
younger? Oh dear.
I was a big movie guy when I was in high school, 16, 17, 18. I watched a lot of 16, 17. I was 18 after high school. But yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that movie was weird.
But here's the craziest thing. You see what happens in that film unfolding now in real time. There's a guy
Yeah,
who fell in love with his AI, but it crashed out after 6 months and lost all its memory. He cried. He bawled his
yeah,
eyes out for an hour, I think. And they have like this
yeah,
news report on it. I was like, damn, that's real.
yeah, and it's interesting to me because we are entering a time of such tumultuousness that I'm interested to see how we cope because I know we will, we always do, but I don't know how because man, it's scary. That kind of stuff is scary to me. And people are turning to AI for friendship, for companionship in a time when there's a loneliness epidemic and the AI is only making it worse because the AI is a shell. It's not a person. Even in her, like that AI was arguably a person, but in real life, these LLMs, they're not individuals. They're not even thinking. They're pretending. They're the best pretenders in the world. And that's how they're programmed. That's what they were meant to do is predict and pretend. But they're pretending so well that people don't understand that it's all a facade. And so they're turning to it to like solve all their problems. And to be fair, AI can solve problems, but not problems of loneliness. Like, and it's concerning because things like that are happening. And like it's exactly that case. Like, what are you gonna do whenever it crashes? Like, you're gonna be left with no social skills. And I mean, I'm not a freaking social butterfly either, but like, I'm afraid for especially the younger people. And I mean, I'm Gen Z, and even I'm already like, dude, this newfangled technology is a serious threat, at least I think, to the younger generation.
I keep hearing that, and I think that there must be truth in it. But at the same time, I just I feel like people are too quick to attack it because I've seen benefits come out of it.
Oh, sure. Like, I mean, even I use AI all the time to vibe code because like I said, I work in marketing and sometimes you have to post to like all these different things and so I use it to make tools that can help me do that, that'll post for me and things like that. And so like and I agree with you. I think there are two like almost cults right now. There's the cult of people that absolutely adore AI and want it in everything and will criticize anyone that doesn't like it or even doesn't use it. And then you have the cult of people that hate AI with a passion and think it should not be a thing and think that no industry can benefit from it or like at the very least like maybe they think like, oh yeah, obviously in the medical industry, where it's finding cancer, but it that if you use AI, you're somehow a bad person. Both of them exist right now. So I agree with you. There's definitely lots of opinions about AI, lots of strong opinions, and not much like what is it, awareness of what it's actually doing, both the good and the bad. I think more people are aware of the bad, but yeah, I agree. Lots of benefits have come from AI.
Yeah, and there's something attractive about optimistic people, and I strive to be one. I might not always be, but I strive to be. And there's just certain people like Rick Rubin, where they're like, he just acts so like fearless, untouched about. Oh yeah, AI, it's coming. Like, I'm excited for the possibilities. It's like wow, that's an attractive message when so many people are like freaking out and worrying. And that's not to say that there isn't a place for skepticism, but just to point out, like, man, the optimism, the hope is an attractive thing. So
See, I always hate this conflation of hope and optimism because not that optimists aren't hopeful, that's not what I'm saying, but it's not like you have to be an optimist.
you were saying?
What was I saying?
You were saying the conflation between hope and optimism.
Yeah. 'Cause like there's this thing that's like, you have optimism, then you have pessimism. Then you have things like hopeful, or sorry, like optimistic pessimism, where you're a pessimist, but then you go, but it could happen, and I'm gonna hope for that. Or like or pessimistic optimism, where you're like, oh, maybe it's the same thing. I don't really know, but there's a difference between that and like realism, where yeah, a lot of people are like, I'm not a pessimist, I'm a realist. And but they're actually a pessimist. Like I there is also like true realism where it's you look at things for how they are and with the knowledge that things can change both ways. Like I feel like optimism is half of the equation, pessimism is the other half. And realism is the whole thing where it's like things can happen, things might happen that are both good and bad. But hope is one of those things, it's not like some scientific theory or something. It's not something fundamental to the universe from a physics perspective. It's the idea that things can change in a way that is beneficial for you. I suppose that is optimism, but to me optimism is also like only ever looking at that. So I guess what I'm saying about the conflation between hope and optimism is not quite what I guess wanted to say because I guess in this view that I have, optimism is hope, but there's always the other side that I feel like too many people put too much stock in either or as opposed to both. And it's to me it's a little different than pessimistic optimism or optimistic pessimism because it's still like this one or the other kind of thing. Like I think of it, there was an example that I was thinking about the other day where it's like I'm gonna go I'm gonna go with I'm gonna think that the worst case scenario will always happen so that I'm either gonna be right or pleasantly surprised. That's that's to me like optimistic pessimism, where it's like you're still a pessimist, but you're acknowledging that like things might be good and even things could are likely to be good, but you're not gonna think that way because you don't want to be wrong. And it's more so like protecting yourself emotionally, but like I don't agree with that philosophy. I think you should try and if you're gonna I don't know, analyze a situation, feel something about a situation, you should probably make sure that you're right, or at least make your best attempt to be right. And I think that if you fail at that, that's part of life. You might get hurt, you might fail. That's okay.
With all these terms you mentioned, which one do you think Batman is?
He's a realist because and there's a scene from I think it is a Justice League episode, but it's with Terry McGinnis. It's Bat who's the Batman Beyond. Um and he's older in this episode and s spoiler alert, he just finds out that he's like a clone of Bruce Wayne and he thinks Bruce Wayne did it, but it turns out it was Amanda Waller and she's like yeah, of course it was Amanda Waller. No, but she tells this story about Batman where Batman essentially there's this girl, her name is Ace, and she's like this psychic. She's super powerful, but she's about to die and she doesn't know it. And she's like making a mess of things, like doing all this crap that will stay permanent if she doesn't change it back before she dies. And so, Be so Amanda Waller comes out and she's like, this device will kill her, but also revert everything back to how it is. And all these superheroes are around, and she's like, one of you has to go up there and kill her. And, you know, Hawkgirl's about to take it because Hawkgirl would have killed her. But then Batman stops her and it's like, no, I'll take it. And everyone looks at him like, huh? Because he doesn't kill, obviously. And so when he went up there, she's psychic, right? So she read his mind and knew from him exactly what was about to happen. And she's like, I know you have a device that is meant to kill me, but you're not gonna use it, are you? And Batman's like, no, I'm not. And she's like, you came up here to try and talk me out of doing all this because I'm about to die, aren't I? And she's a kid. She's like a little kid, basically. She's like maybe 12 or something. I don't know. And he's like, yeah, that I've come here to talk you out of it. And she is like, I'm about to die. Can you stay with me until I go? And so Batman just they're on like a swing set, and Batman just sits on the swing set and holds her hand as she dies. There's a thing about Batman people don't understand, and it's that he is the light in the darkness, you know? He is surrounded by darkness, but he himself is not darkness. He is the light in it.
He's a
And it's
camouflaged light,
I guess, but
right?
yeah, I mean, yeah, because he tries to be like, oh, I am the knight, like he projects this thing of fear, this thing of scariness, but at his core, he is a hero. He does, and really, to me, I always think of like the night Bruce Wayne's parents died. Like Bruce died with him, but he didn't become Batman until he became Batman later on. Like, but he did start that journey of becoming Batman, and it's
So
that
who was he in
person.
between?
Yeah, he was. I guess you could say he was Batman afterwards, but he didn't truly come into that whole thing until later on. But
Do you think he was a pessimist in that time between losing Bruce Wayne, so to speak, and becoming Batman? Do you think in between he was pessimist?
yeah, probably. I mean, that's usually anytime you suffer a heavy loss, you usually lose yourself for a while. I mean, I know I do. And so, yeah, probably, but I don't think that that was who he was, in deep down inside. Just like I don't think anyone who's going through grief is should be judged by, what how they
Yeah.
are
You're
during
not
that.
always the avatar of your emotions.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's a good line.
To write it down. Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
but
thanks for sharing this stuff. And I want to take it back to loneliness. Tell me about your experience with it, if you
oh
don't mind me
man.
asking.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I've always been a very lonely person. Um, Especially like, growing up, I was depressed as hell because I never felt like I was really understood by anyone or anything. And in a lot of ways, that's still true. Um, and so I've always had this, the way I talk about it sometimes and the way I kind of conceptualize it, it's like a demon that follows you and just like haunts your life. Um, and it's one of those things where, loneliness can consume you. And just like yeah, I do sometimes think about how Batman is the light in the dark, not because he's this shining beacon. He's not the shining beacon. That's Superman. But Batman is the last ember of a dying fire that refuses to go out. And that's how I I see myself sometimes is like fighting against a world that wants to put you out. And part of that is resisting things that come with loneliness, like apathy or like resentment, spite. Well, I am spiteful, but not not towards like anyone. It's you got to learn how to channel that into something. And for me, often it's my music or writing. Um, and like that's part of the reason why I think it saved me making music is because I go through and I hate that this has become a pattern, 'cause I don't know why it has, but a lot of the time what'll happen is I'll make friends and then for one reason or another I'll have to like move or they'll move and then I lose them. And it's like we stay in touch for a while, but then it kind of disappears. And that's true of, and not everyone. I have like two friends that I have broken this cycle with, but it's a hard thing to be so close. And I think part of it is me. I feel very strongly about things and about people, and I'm very compassionate. I'm very much a like, if you say we're friends, that means something to me. That means a lot to me. And then, but it doesn't for a lot of people. And so then it's like this mismatch of how much stock you put into something. And so that's another thing that's really hard to reconcile with is like, that can happen a lot to you, like it has to me. And it's hard not to resent the world for it or to think that either think something's wrong with the world or you think something's wrong with you, or both. And I mean, always, you know, I always kind of knew that the world was how it was. And I mean, obviously there are things wrong with the world, but and I always blamed myself for how lonely I was. And to be fair, some of it was me. I've changed quite a bit, but a lot of it, most of it was just that's how things unfolded. And this is why I don't like optimism or pessimism, is because if I was an optimist, I don't know, I feel like an optimist in my situation would have learned nothing from the things I've gone through because they would just always hope for the best when I know that the best is very unlikely to happen. But a pessimist would think the best will never happen. So it's like this difference and that's why I say realists take it for what it is. I am not a lucky person. I don't get lucky. And I'm not sure why that is. I don't believe in karma. I don't believe in anything cosmic or rather divine that's like luck or anything. I think luck is just a set of circumstances that favors you. And so I'm not sure what it is that makes one person lucky and one person not. But whatever it is, like, I know that I'm one of those people that I don't get lucky. And when I do, I try to treasure it, try to savor that moment. Uh, 'Cause it ain't gonna happen again. But so like, yeah, that's how I think that's kind of why I've come to this whole realist perspective. But that hope that no, things won't get better unless you make them better. That was the example that I was thinking of earlier was like people will say, "Oh, just wait, things will get better." That's load of crap. Things can get better, but only if you make them better. That's the realist perspective there. And so that's what I hold on to. You know, despite all the loneliness, I hold on to the fact that things can change and I can make them change for the better. Things will change. Everything will change, no matter what you do. But you can influence that change for the better.
Thank you so much for sharing all that, Jibran. That was amazing. And what you just said right now, it reminded me of this Charles Bukowski quote where he says, I was waiting for something extraordinary to happen, but as the years wasted on, nothing ever did unless I caused it. And it's just such a real line. And it's true. It's very true that you have to take action. You have to take the first steps to ignite anything, you know? And you mentioned luck, right? It's a huge mystery, but it has something to do with that where you just got to take as many chances as you can until something gives. That's what I think.
Yeah.
But um again, thanks so much for sharing all that because when I met you, I wouldn't have known any of this. Earlier, you
Hmm.
said you're not really a social butterfly, but that surprised me because the way that we were interacting, You seem to be very sociable, very smooth in
Yeah,
conversation. You were able to take it. It was a good conversation at a steady pace. So it's it's very nice when people share these things because you realize again that people can appear a certain way, but deep down we all got our own things going on. And as
yeah,
amazing as the appearance is, it could be different inside.
yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's interesting that we keep talking about Batman because although he's a fictional character, the beautiful thing about fiction is it's stamped with so many truths.
Yeah.
And this stuff tattoos that character. Batman is all
Hmm.
of that. And I love how you
Yeah,
said that he's not the shining beacon. He's that last bit of ember.
yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I love superhero stories because like all fiction is a vehicle for truth, at least someone's truth. And but there are lots of times, the best writing, it has a lot of the same themes because there are certain truths that we as humans often forget, and there are certain things that are so easy to let go of. It's like for example, having fun, how that's so important. And people kind of forget that whenever they, grow up for or quote unquote, and they lose that like whimsy, they lose that like air of just let's do something to have
They
fun.
they sacrificed their Peter Pan at an altar,
Yeah, yeah. And that's
which
just
isn't always
one.
a bad thing, to be honest. It isn't always a bad thing, but
I don't know. I mean, there's a spectrum, or there's like a degree that, is good, and then past that is bad. But uh I think that, and that's just one of many truths that gets lost often. And I think right now a lot of things that are getting lost is like, and maybe this has always been the case, but I think tolerance towards not towards like ideas, but towards other people, I think is one thing. Maybe not tolerance is the right word, but understanding. That's the word. Is understand like no one, because nobody's talking to each other right now on a large scale at least. No one's understanding each other. We're all going to the internet and looking up things in order to understand people. Or it's like I was having a conversation with my brother one time, and he was talking, it was like a political conversation. I don't remember what it was about, but he said something like they are doing this. And I'm like, who is they? Who do you mean? And it's like these people, and I'm like, okay, but what people? Where did you find them? He's like, well, they're the people on the internet. And I'm like, okay, so it's not them, it's the people that you see on the internet. And like, I kept digging at that, and it was crazy how much less sense the argument made whenever or not even less sense, but how much weaker the argument became when it stopped being like all of them and started being like this very small subsection of them. Because like the people you see on the internet are often not the majority, because the majority are often too busy.
well, here's the thing. I had another friend, he brought that up to me once, but I've realized no man, like there's a truth to that, but at the same time it's false because everybody is on the internet
True.
in one capacity or another, and it'd be foolish to disregard the people online because sure there can be a vociferous minority, a loud minority, but at the same time, man, there's a lot of people saying a lot of things. And I had a similar experience with that same friend where he's a very smart guy, But there's this one particular issue we were talking about, and his answers to me were the same answers that a news channel could spoon feed. And I was
Hmm.
like, oh my god. So you
I,
you're
I
you're just you're just saying what they feed you. But you're such a smart person, but you're literally just saying what they feed you. So you don't know
yeah,
anything about this. It was baffling.
I've had this experience. Um, yeah, and it's one of those things where, and sometimes I find myself saying things that are like, I have to like double check myself because sometimes I do say things that are maybe not quite the things that get spoon fed to people because I don't watch news stations at all. And I haven't really kept up with news in a long time because I got my own things to do, man. And but so
Yeah.
sometimes I'll catch myself saying things and I'm like, wait a minute, let's make sure I know what I'm talking about. Let's like this sounds like a spoon-fed argument, but it's more often than not a spoon-fed argument. But it's hard to be educated and to be not even educated, just like to have your own opinions on things when we're all so busy. And that was one thing I was gonna say against your not even against but to the point that you said where everyone's online. I think everyone is online, but not everyone has the time to be arguing online, to be vocal online, because that takes a lot of time. And I don't think that I don't think most people have that kind of time, no matter who you are. It doesn't matter what group you're a part of. I think we're all so busy.
That's a fair point. That is a fair point. Um, I love what Bill Burr said one time. He's like, I tend not to watch the news because it's just here's a bunch of sad shit that you can't do anything about. It's like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah,
just gotta keep watching it. And I've
that's
noticed
exactly.
I was never a news guy, but like in the past year or two, I started getting really interested in it and paying attention. But recently, about a month now, I've I've kind of like logged off of that because it's too much. It's too much sadness and brainwashing and just lies that people just keep feeding you. Too many
Yeah.
conspiracy theories, too many um tangents, and it's like I don't need this in my life. There's
Yeah.
highlights that are important to know, but then there's some things where it's like I don't understand what use this would be to me in my life, other than just making me kind of sad, you know?
Right, and that's why I think yeah, I'm one of those people that have a real grudge against like those in power. Um, at least here in America, and I'm not even just saying like uh Trump administration or Biden, whoever's president. I'm talking about like the rich in general, I guess. Or at least the rich people that are, have their hands in things. Obviously, there are good rich people, but here in America, a lot of rich people are, they're lobbyists. They a lot of them control a lot of the media. They do all this, and so I think personally that the reason media kind of sucks right now, or at least news media specifically, is because they're making it so that if you keep up with news, you are so inundated with all this stuff that you don't have time to think for yourself. And if you don't keep up with news, they're going to call you a bad person because you should be. You should care enough to keep up with things. And
Yeah.
so they try to
It's like you're
lock you in this
irresponsible
box.
for not watching the news. It's like, hold
Right.
on, I don't know about that. Where did this claim come from? That's,
Right.
that's a great point you bring up, man. That's a great point.
And yeah, and they try to keep you locked in this box so that they can control you, which I like. Look, I'm a punk rocker. Of course, I have this mindset,
Iggy
but
Pop.
it's true. Hmm?
Yeah. No, Iggy Pop, you know. I'm a punk
Iggy Pop.
rocker.
I don't
You
know
saw the
about.
Superman movie. I'm a punk rocker. Yes, I am.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah,
Iggy
yeah,
Pop.
yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
You know, we have to take this back to Batman. You said not all rich people are bad. There's good ones too. Bruce Wayne is a good rich man, but then you have the Court of Owls to exist as well.
Or
Fascinating, huh?
yeah, it's because we're all people, man. It's
Yeah,
like people in any people anywhere have the choice of being good or bad. You know, my brother will say things like some people are just bad, some people are just evil, and I don't agree. I think there's always a reason why someone is something, and there's always the choice to continue to be that way. Actually, one of the shows I'm writing is kind of about that. The main character and the main villain, they both like one chooses to be a good person despite it all, and the other chooses to be a villain despite it all. And that's like their dichotomy.
that's profound. And I don't know if you've seen The Boys, but that's why I love the story of Homelander so much because you see how he tried so hard to choose good, but it would always go wrong for him. And little by little, that turned him into a villain. I love
I
the way they portray that in The Boys.
I have not seen The Boys.
You
I
shock me. You shock me.
I've heard that I heard that it was just like what if bad people got superpowers and just started wreaking havoc, and I didn't have much of an interest in that.
It's actually a great reflection of America, and I hate to say it, but I noticed something that was too odd of a coincidence. In the TV show, they have this one superhero. His name is Translucent, and spoiler alert, he dies in the first season. And in the second season, like it opens up with like this um, big pompous funeral ceremony, and you got like all these like fancy goodbyes, like patriotic stuff, a musical performance, and it was eerily similar to the funeral ceremony of Charlie Kirk. And
Mm,
I mean, I'm not trying to get into conspiracies or anything like that, but I'm just saying it's very interesting that that ceremony, the way it was portrayed in that show years ago, is so similar to what we saw in real life recently. It's just an
mm.
interesting thing to think about.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's one of those things, does life imitate art or does art imitate life? I
Both.
think it Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think it's both.
Yeah.
Because it's always, life and art are in a perpetual cycle of influencing one another.
Yin and yang.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Something you said earlier, you were talking about how the reality is you can make friends and the meaning of that relationship varies across different people. And I've experienced that many times in my own life, and it can be disappointing and it can be sad. But interestingly enough, those experiences were one of the main reasons that I created this podcast because I realized every relationship you have with a person is temporary. But while it exists, why not there be a place where you could capture that for a little bit? And then you can, like, at this point, I can look back, even just a couple years ago, I'm like, ah, oh, I do remember that guy. I do remember that girl. It was cool when we were friends. And there's
Yeah.
like, the same thing might not exist now. Doesn't mean that there's bad blood, but it's just people naturally, there's a distance that occurs. And it's just cool to be able to have this time machine where you get to look back at it like, ah, the good old days.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of what pictures are even, is like a little tiny snapshot of what it was like back then. But also, I kind of agree, or I 100% agree with you on that. And I kind of liken it to, the music I make, where I'll go back routinely and listen to the music I released or have made in the past. And I like it. And that's like I know people that are like, oh, I hate listening to my own music, or I hate, blah blah blah, my own stuff. And I used to be like that. And I don't know what really changed. I think doing music changed that for me because it forced me to make things that I enjoyed listening to because otherwise I didn't know how to make it.
You
And
got to be your
so,
own Tom Cruise. Make the stuff that
yeah,
you want to hear. Make the stuff you want to watch.
yeah, and that's how you avoid the, oh, is it good or not? I don't know. It's like, well, do you think it's good? Then who cares? And I mean,
Yeah,
there's also a degree of like, okay, outside perspective can make it better, which everyone should always be open to. But ultimately, it's like you have the final say, and you are your own audience. I think people forget that.
absolutely. I got to check out some of your stuff, man.
Yeah, you should. Maybe I'll send you some of the new stuff I've done.
Sure, sure. I'm down for that. I was wondering, Jibran, do you have any closing thoughts? Anything you felt like you wanted to say you didn't get a chance to, or something on your mind you wanted to express?
Uh, mm, not really. I'm very good at rambling and forgetting exactly what I said. So I think, yeah, I don't know. It was fun. You should have me
Yeah,
on again.
yeah. I'm glad that you enjoyed it, man. This was a fun talk, and I guess one of the closing thoughts I wanted to discuss with you was Doctor Doom. I keep thinking about Doctor Doom. Does that character mean anything to you?
Doctor Doom is a really cool character because he's not quite bad, but he's not good either. His intentions are good, but the way he goes about doing them are bad.
What are his
And
intentions?
his intentions are to make a utopia. Like
Hmm.
Latveria is, for all intents and purposes, a utopia, at least to my understanding.
How is
Like
it different from Magneto's Elysium?
I don't know. I don't know a lot about Magneto and
I love
his whole
Magneto. He's
thing.
probably one of my favorite villains of all time.
Yeah, he is a great villain, but I think it's probably different in that it's kind of, well, I don't know if it's open to all people, but I know Magneto is very much a human racist. What is it? Speciesist. Well, but mutants are human. I don't know. He's prejudiced
He's
towards humans. So
anti-normies.
yeah, yeah. But Doctor Doom is nationalist, so it's a little different.
Mm.
Where Doctor Doom, he doesn't care who you are as long as you're Latvian, then oops, then you're part of his flock, I guess.
Is it an accurate assessment to say that Doctor Doom is the Marvel version of a Hitler?
No, no,
Because you
because
said nationalist, so I was thinking,
well, but Hitler was more than a nationalist. There's a lot more to Hitler than being nationalist. I mean, like in, I, I guess I would consider myself a nationalist, not to the degree Hitler was, but like, I do think there is some stock in being American. Not that Americans are better or anything, but as far as like, if someone else is an American, I feel like there's a lot of things that I can maybe infer about them from that, and there's kind of despite the flaws of America, which there are many, I am proud to be an American. Like I love the idea of America.
well, of course,
Like
but taking it back to Doctor Doom, um, I guess what makes him a villain then? If his intentions are good, what makes him a villain?
it's because what he does is not great. Like he'll I think he kills people. That's just one thing. But like he's a villain
Generic,
because
generic
yeah,
villain.
yeah, well, but he wants to make a utopia, but he wants to rule that utopia at the top. So that's how he's a villain. His intent. So I guess his intentions aren't 100% good, but they are like 90% good. But then the other 10% kind of ruins it because he wants to be the sole dictator of a utopia. And
Hmm.
so he does have this claw for power, or like he's clawing for power to make it so that he can create a world that he wants to create.
Growing up with a lot of comic book characters, Doctor Doom was never one that fascinated me, but because of the hype these days, I've been thinking about him a lot, and I wrote a poem called Doctor Doom. And one of the lines I put in there was, there is a specific salvation in selfishness. And for some reason, it just
Oh,
made me think of Doctor Doom. And there's a truth to that. So I don't know. I don't know. I'll have to look more into Doctor Doom, but thanks for sharing that about him. That's interesting.
yeah.
Yeah. So I suppose until next time, eh? You
All
take care.
right, see. You too.
So that was it. What'd you think?
No, it was fun.
It was fun, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely I definitely love to come on again. I love rambling. I love talking about things. So